this year, since I got this 100% disability combat, I brought it to the property appraiser in Dade County, and they said that I was going to get a 100% discount for my real estate taxes in 2025, which would be like 8,500 discount.
All right, folks, it's time for our favorite podcast, Cut to the Chase. Are you a veteran out there and maybe you don't even realize all the benefits that you are entitled to? That's my first question. My second question is the gentleman that you see over here, does he look like anyone that you know? I want you to give a big look at him. That would be my father, Max Goldfarb. It's about time, Dad, that you came on my show. Korean vet, a veteran of the Korean War, discharged honorably in October 1953, won a couple of medals, Bronze Stars, for volunteering for some dangerous activities. And how are you doing, Dad?
I'm doing okay, thank you.
All right, where are you right now?
I'm in my law office.
What location is that?
19 West Flagler Street, room 802, Miami, Florida.
How long have you been a lawyer?
67 years.
67 years, like 365 days in a year kind of thing?
Yes.
Okay. And during that time, I mean, how long have you been at the 19 West Flagler building?
Since 1960.
All right, so give me your date of birth.
April 12th, 1931.
All right, so that would make you 94 years old?
That's what it adds up to.
All right, you just had a birthday. Did your family celebrate with you, I hope? Yes, they did.
Yes, they did, yes.
Okay, all right, so you've been a practicing lawyer 67 years, and it sounds like you're still practicing. Are you still practicing?
Yes, full time.
Full time, 67 years. God love you. So my father, I'm also an attorney. We used to share a space. I grew up with him as, growing up with an attorney as a father, whatever, can have its advantages. And, he used to be very critical. Like I would ask a question and it wouldn't be precise. So I'd always have to correct my questions. But I love the guy. I owe him everything. He's been the most amazing father. My friends and family all love him, just so everybody out there in the audience knows that. Now, as an attorney right now, what do you consider your practice? What areas of law
I have a general practice. I do a lot of collection work. I do probate work. Anything that comes in the office, if I can handle, I do real estate. Anything that I can handle, I handle. I don't do criminal law. I refer it out. I don't do immigration law. I refer it out. I don't do federal court work. I refer it out. Anything that I cannot do, I know tons of lawyers that I can refer it to.
Wow. Maybe even you would send a case to your son. No? Okay.
Yes, of course.
Of course. Some of my first big cases I came from you. Gustavo, what was his last name? Anyway, okay, we got to cut to the chase here. My father is basically as the king of collection in Florida. So people get judgments and they can't collect. They call up this sweet, lovable old man. Don't let that fool you because, if you owe his client money, he's going to be like, it's a different animal that you're dealing with. Would you say that's accurate or do you still?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Okay. All right. Now let's get on to what the purpose of this discussion today was not really to go over your history. We might do that on another episode. But what we want to talk about is over the years, I would say over the last 24 years, you've been telling me that, you're getting all these benefits and you're getting your disability rating bumped up because you have PTSD and, all these things. I mean, my father was frontline and enemy line. He was on the enemy lines in Korea. God knows why, but that's what was happening. So obviously you had some PTSD, and I'd like you to go through basically let's start off with Carl Axe. It was an attorney that we knew many years, also a veteran. And this show is really designed for the veterans so you can understand some things that you might not realize you might be entitled to that I never knew about, but my father has shown me the way over the course of time. So let's go back to the beginning with Carl Axe and the VA hospital and all that. How did that go?
All right, so when Carl Lax convinced me to join the VA hospital, I did it, and I'm glad I did because I received all kinds of medical treatment if I need it. I get eye examinations from doctors from Bascom Palmer Institute, one of the best eye institutes in the country. Uh, they take blood. They give me blood results. Uh, I can get other. I've had CAT scans. Uh, I once went for an emergency, but it turned out to be nothing. Uh, but it's a great hospital. It's an old hospital, but it's clean, and I do get great service. When I go for an appointment, I wait maybe up to 10 minutes before they call me in. And I have a nurse who I've seen several years now. She calls me in and she speaks to me about 30 minutes, takes all my information, asks me questions about myself, and then she gives me to the geriatric doctor for another 30 minutes, and she questions me, and whatever I need, I asked her, and like I said, I get great service, and I'm happy I joined, and I got these disability ratings because there was another attorney, Roy Wasson, who does appellate work, who informed me that I was entitled to disability ratings about 3 years ago. I didn't know about it beforehand, and I started filing for claims, and I eventually got them. My ringing in my ears, I got 10% because I was the first gunner on an 81 millimeter mortar, shooting the mortar for 9 months in North Korea. It's like a cannon, and the loud noise caused the ringing in my ears, which I have today. I was in North Korea from from August 1952 to May of 1953. Then I also fell out of a Jeep in North Korea, injured my left shoulder, so I got 20% disability for that. And then eventually I got 70% for my PTSD, post traumatic stress disorder. So I'm considered 100% disabled. This year, I won't pay my real estate taxes.
Okay, let's slow down, because I want people to be able to digest what you're saying. First, let's go back. The VA hospital. Most people think the VA hospital is a horrible hospital, bad experience. And for many years, you would tell me you're going to the VA, you're going to the VA, and and I'd be like, God, why are you going to the VA? But you would tell me great things about it. Okay, but the way that you got into the VA is because you're a vet and you had to apply, right? It's not like you just walked in there,
Yes,
say I'm
yes.
a vet. Okay. So let's go through how do you apply? Is this like an online
Well,
application?
I went to the hospital, and from what I remember, we're talking 24 years ago, I filled out an application with all the details of my service, and eventually they say, I am a member now of the VA hospital.
Okay. And the VA hospital provides pretty much comprehensive medical treatment.
Yes, if I want it, yes.
Okay. Eyes, ears, nose, blood
Yes,
work, all everything.
yeah. Operations if you need it.
And you don't pay a thing.
No, dental.
Dental. Wow. Okay. All right. So now the next thing that you're talking about, Roy Wasson tells you, hey, if you probably have some disabilities from this. You fell out of a Jeep. You're sitting there
Yeah,
for
well, I told him my experiences in North Korea, and then he said, Max, did you ever get your disabilities? I said, no. So he said, Max, apply, you're entitled. So
okay.
I
Go ahead. Go ahead.
so I applied and I started getting them. And then I had a disabled veteran advocate in Doral, Florida, and he was able to get me uh, post traumatic stress disorder disability.
Okay. So you actually reached out to an advocate in Doral. You
Yeah,
remember?
and that Carl Lax gave me his name and phone number.
All right. So it's not, all right. From my understanding, because I've dealt with a lot of veterans, in the last 20 years, especially with the earplug case. And what I understood was that once they got discharged, they went for evaluations and they would be given disability ratings. But it doesn't sound like that happened to you back in the Korean War.
No, it didn't.
Okay, and so there's still a lot of veterans out there from the Korean War. You might not have gone through this experience of, getting evaluated, get a disability rating and all that. So you basically had to go figure out what your own disability rating would be. You used the advocate. It was the active advocate. How did the advocate know what your disability was? I mean, I know you explained.
Well, well, I brought my DD 214. Well, I was able to get I think the 10% for my tinnitus, the ringing in my ears on my own. And then he helped me, I believe. No, it was another advocate in St. Petersburg, Florida, who got the 20% disability rating for me. We had an administrative judge hear my story, but he advocated for me first. Uh, I forget his. I have his name written down.
All right, that's all right. We'll figure that out later and we'll put that in the notes of the show. All right.
Yeah.
So all right, so you have when you got your disability rating for your tinnitus, the ringing in your ears, how did you do that? Did you write a letter to the
I got the claim form, I believe. It was a claim form, and I filled it out and sent it in, and then they gave it to me, no problem.
all right, so then
But with
Roy,
with the injury to my left shoulder, my medical records and hundreds of other veterans, our medical records were in a warehouse in St. Louis, Missouri, and it burned down to a crisp.
hmm,
So my medical records were destroyed. So I called my good friend from City Med, Eddie Lopez, and I told him. So he said, go to our orthopedic surgeon and let him evaluate you and give you a medical report stating that it's most likely that I did injure my shoulder in North Korea. I got a letter from Attorney Brian Hirsch, who said that I complained about my shoulder, from Ellen Goldfarb, gut launch. She gave me,
Gutlon, Ellen Gutlon.
my daughter gave me a letter.
Oh boy.
Um, and then I, I forget how I got this advocate in St. Petersburg, but he was a great guy, and he he advocated for me. First, I don't remember if they denied it, but I took an appeal. That's how I got him.
Yeah.
I
All
took
right.
an appeal, and based on the administrative hearing, I was able to get 20% for my shoulder.
All right. So that was now you're up to 30. You're saying you're at 100%. Where did the other 70 come from?
Okay, so
And
I
how did you
called
get that?
I called Pedro Rodriguez, who was referred to me by Carlax, and I said, Pedro, my left shoulder is bothering me. Maybe I can get more. So he says, come on down to the office. I went down. He said, bring your DD 214. So I brought my DD 214. He looks at it and he sees that I was in combat. He said, Max, we're not going for your shoulder. were going for PTSD. So he applied, and I believe originally I got 50% or 30%. And then after that, he called me back and he says, Max, come in again. We're going to go for more for your PTSD. And that's how he got me 70% for PTSD.
So 70, 10, and 20, you're now at 100%.
Yes,
Which, all right, so that's what the government has recognized this, and they give you VA compensation benefits?
yes. I get about, right now, I'm getting about 2,200 a month. But I put in, but I'm only getting 2,200 because of the 70%. So I figured, hey, what? And I got this letter on March 3rd from Dr. Salazar, which says I'm 100%, and she lists all my disabilities. So I just recently filed an additional claim to get more money for 100%, not 70%.
Okay. All right. So the other thing that you were just about to roll into, all right, now people in the audience that are listening in, if you're a vet, this might not apply to you, this might apply to you. If you're a Florida vet and you own, like a house or an apartment, a condo or something like that, you have to pay property taxes. So lo and behold, you can fill in the blanks now.
There is a Florida statute, I think it's chapter 192 or 195. Uh, Offhand, I don't remember the exact number, but it's 192, which says that if you're in combat, you're entitled to reduction in your real estate taxes. So last year, only 70% applied. So I got a 50% reduction in my real estate taxes, like
Wow.
4,500 out of 8,500. So
Wow.
this year, since I got this 100% disability combat, I brought it to the property appraiser in Dade County, and they said that I was going to get a 100% discount for my real estate taxes in 2025, which
Look at
would be like 8,500 discount
look at that. Per year, per year.
per
Wow.
year.
Wow. Oh my God. All right. So, and I just want to go back to sort of like the whole claims. You're filing a claim, then you're in front of an administrative judge. Just to clarify it to the audience here, somebody may be a veteran, they're like, wow, this sounds interesting. So it's almost like you're filing a claim with an insurance company. You had a damage to your house, and then they say, no, we're not going to pay, or like medical bills or whatever. And then you can actually take an appeal, and that's what you did. You took an appeal on their denial, and you won the appeal, and that was the end of it.
Yeah, the 20% from my shoulder
Okay.
because I didn't have medical record, but I had a record in the VA hospital in 2001. I told them I hurt my shoulder.
Yeah.
So that also helped me.
Yeah.
The application for disability compensation and related compensation benefits, the form number is 21 526 EZ.
Okay. And we are going to put that form on the show notes of the show. So if you're a veteran, you got to go to the show, you got to see the show notes, and you'll have that. Another thing that you can do if you if you want, to talk to Max Goldfarb about this, you can call him up. What is the easiest way for a vet to call you up and pick your brain about this? Maybe find, some of this information or these advocates that helped you out. What's the best way to reach out to you?
My You want my cell?
Now let's take the office number.
Oh, the office is 305-371-2538.
2538. All right. So the last benefit that I wanted to talk about is the funeral.
Yes.
Explain that.
I'm not uh, too. I don't have the real expertise on that, but if you want a military ceremony, you can request a military ceremony. Myra Locke in our temple, her husband was in the Navy, and he had a military service before his burial.
Yeah.
So I guess she arranged it with the Navy.
Yeah. Yeah.
So my family can arrange it with the Veterans Administration, I assume,
That would be Ellen Goldfarb Gutlon.
or you, Greg Goldfarb.
Okay. All right. Now, the last thing I want to talk about, it's really not a benefit, but it's sort of like a benefit. Our good friend Dylan Barquette a few years ago called us up and said, "Hey, did you realize there's this thing you can do to fly up to DC and all that?" What was that program called? Because a lot of people don't know of that.
The program is called Honor Flight South Florida, and they're out of Fort Lauderdale.
Okay, and what's that all about?
All right. My son was able to find this organization, Greg,
That would be me, yes.
my son. He found the organization and he got me an application to fill out, which I did. And then May of 2023, I was eligible with 70 other veterans, mostly Vietnam. There was one other Korean veteran and one World War II veteran. And we went up to Fort Lauderdale, and they needed a chaperone. So I had my daughter, Ellen Gutlorn, go with me. My
Uh-huh.
son, my son said, "Let Ellen go." Greg said, "Let Ellen go,"
Yeah.
and she was very happy. And we flew up to Washington. We all had wheelchairs, even though I really didn't need it. And we walked around all the monuments and the memorials, World War II, Korea, Iwo Jima, several. Oh, and it was a woman's uh, memorial who were in service. All the, and then we went to the Lincoln Memorial,
Yeah.
and we had a nice lunch. We had a little breakfast and a lot of snacks. They were just wonderful to us, all the volunteers, and we had a great time. And we came back. We left at 6 in the morning, and we came back at 10 p.m. at night. And then there were like 200 people waiting for us on a Saturday to greet us and cheer for us. And it was really a great sight, and it was very touching. And then my son Greg met us
That would be me.
in Fort Lauderdale
Yeah.
to take Ellen and myself back to Miami.
Yes, as it was actually the greeting was arranged by family and friends. I'm sorry, the Honor Flights Florida basically tried to recreate your arrival back from military. So we were
Yeah,
waiting there.
they call it the last mission.
We're waiting there, and we're cheering you on as if you had just come back from the war. So,
Right,
wow, that's
right.
so your son basically figured this out for you, and then allowed your daughter, Ellen Gutlon, to go on this free adventure with you.
As
Sounds
a
like you have a,
chaperone.
sounds like you have a very nice son, I got to tell you.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And then they gave us a whole envelope while we were on the plane coming back with letters from Congress people and from students thanking us for our service. And we got $100 gift card from Spirit Air. It was Spirit Airline that took us, and I only had to pay $400 for my daughter, I guess, for her passage on the plane.
Yeah. She's well worth it. Not
Yeah,
much more than that, but she's well worth
no, and
it.
but it was a marvelous trip, and every veteran should apply.
All right. Okay. So I think that's going to do it. Listen, if you're a veteran out there and you heard this story and you're like, wow, what planet have I been living on? These, I need to get in touch with this Max Goldfarb. Or maybe you have a bill that hasn't, you can't get paid on, or you're a small business and you have all these outstanding invoices and you can't get paid. You're going to call up Max Goldfarb, 305-371-25. He is probably the only person on the planet I know that actually answers his phone, which is another amazing thing. Um, any parting words,
You
Father?
didn't give the full phone number.
I'm sorry, 305-371-2538. This is very
Yes.
nerve-wracking for me to hear to have you on as a guest here at Cut to the Chase. All right. Well, listen, is there anything else you want to let our audience know?
No, thank you. Thank you for doing this podcast.
All right, and thank you for your service. Fortunately for me, Ellen, our mom, Sandra Goldfarb, you came back in one piece, and you, as much of a disability as you have, I think you're perfect. Okay, I love you to pieces. I don't know what else to say. I'm gonna start crying, but that'll do it for this episode of Cut to the Chase. Comments? You want to get in touch with my father? By the way, that DD 214, that's your discharge, right? That list, you were referring to that before.
Oh, I have a separate honorable discharge paper. It doesn't go into a lot of information that I have on my DD 214.
And my father he was a corporal. They froze
The rank.
the
the rank.
rank. As far as I'm concerned, he's a 5-star military general. I wouldn't mess with him. My life depended on it. All right.
All right.
Back to work. All right. I know you're a busy guy.
Thank you, Gregg. I love you, Gregg.
That's all for this episode of Cut to the Chase. But before you go, will you open up your podcast app and give us a 5-star review? You can also leave a comment about what you liked most or other topics you'd like us to cover. And please be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any upcoming shows. Thanks, everybody. Be safe out there.